Stand. It's like a boss chair. It's like the VIP chair. Last second. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulih al-Kareem. Amma ba'd. Brothers and sisters, welcome to every one of you to our Hajj seminar. It is called The Journey of a Lifetime. So I apologize, my throat is not that well that I can speak that clearly, but I will try my best. We have this presentation with us as well, and we will try to get this, inshallah, along. If you miss anything from this presentation is public. I will share the links for this, so inshallah you can go over all of this, inshallah, again at your free time as well. So if you miss a screen, don't worry about it. Inshallah, we'll make sure that we'll provide some sort of link for you that you can have that as well. Brothers and sisters, Hajj is once in a lifetime journey. Hajj is something that changes the lives of so many individuals. The Prophet of Allah ﷺ performed one Hajj in his entire life. The Hajj of Rasulullah ﷺ was performed 2 months and few days before his demise. The Hajj of Rasulullah ﷺ was done. He comes back towards Medina, and within few days to few weeks, the Nabi of Allah ﷺ leaves the face of this earth. So Hajj itself was one of the most important aspects of the life of the Prophet ﷺ. And Hajj itself is a time where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals this verse of the Quran, in which Surah Ma'idah chapter 5 verse number 3, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions to us, Al-yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum wa atmamtu alaykum ni'amati wa raditu lakum al-islam dina. The completion of deen, the perfecting of our iman, and the perfecting of the ni'mah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala all happened in the journey of Hajj itself. Scholars have mentioned something so profound and so beautiful. They said this is the last verse of the Quran related to halal and haram. After this verse of the Quran, no other ayah of the Quran related to halal and haram were revealed to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This ayah of the Quran also mentions the perfection of the religions. Al-yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum wa atmamtu alaykum ni'amati wa raditu lakum al-islam dina. That I have reached the pinnacle and excellence of in'am and blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Which means, brothers and sisters, that your Hajj supposed to be that final break, that completion of your iman and your faith. From there, your life has to change. Your life has to become something which is different from what it was before Hajj itself. But how can we make our Hajj valuable? We need to make sure that our Hajj is performed like the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to do so. The way that our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam performed his Hajj. So inshallah, in the short time that we have today, we will try to cover some of these important factors. Now, Hajj is of 3 types. The first type of Hajj is known as Hajj Qiran. What is Hajj Qiran? We'll go through the details of it in just a few moments, but briefly to keep in your mind. The first type of Hajj is known as Hajj Qiran. Hajj Qiran means that you enter inside the state of Ihram. I'll talk about Ihram, the do's, the don'ts, the permissible, non-permissible. I'll talk about that in just a few moments. You enter in Ihram with the intention to perform Umrah and Hajj both together with one Ihram. You go inside Haram, Mecca, you wear Ihram, you perform the rituals of Umrah. You're done with Umrah, you do not come out of that Ihram. You keep that Ihram on, or the state of that Ihram continues till Hajj begins. You complete your Hajj and you come out of the state of Ihram. That is known as Hajj Qiran. After the completion of your Umrah, you will not trim or shave your hair, which is of course the conditions of coming out of Ihram, and then remain in Mecca in Ihram waiting for your Hajj. This is known as Hajj Qiran. The second type of Hajj is known as Hajj Tamattu'. Hajj Tamattu' is that Hajj in which you enter Ihram with the intention of performing Umrah only, to be later followed by a new Ihram for Hajj, which most of us do. Meaning, you go from here to Medina Munawwara, Makkah Mukarramah, wherever you're going, and you make the intention of Hajj Tamattu'. With that, you wear your ihram with the sole intention of performing the Umrah for Hajj. Once your Umrah is complete, how to perform Umrah, I'll talk about that in just a 5 to 7 minutes time. You are done with your Umrah. Once you are done with your Umrah, after your Umrah, you trim and you shave your hair and you remove yourself from that ihram. And then you remain in Mecca or Medina, wherever you have to be, without ihram till the day of Hajj comes. And on the morning of the Hajj, when it's time for you to come in the state of ihram, then you make intention for ihram again. This is known as Hajj Tamattu', the one that is recommended, and most of us actually perform this. The third type of Hajj is known as Hajj Ifrad. Hajj Ifrad is that Hajj that you enter with the intention of only performing Hajj. You do not perform Umrah. You wear your ihram before you enter miqat, only with the intention of performing Hajj itself. These are the three types of Hajj itself. So you would have to decide which one you are doing. But of course, most of us choose to perform Hajj. Choose to perform Hajj, which is known as Hajj Tamattu', that we can perform our Umrah, come out of the ihram, and then re-wear it for Hajj itself. Let's talk about preparation for Hajj. Brothers and sisters, preparation for Hajj is not only preparing your clothing, your passports, and your tickets, which are all very, very important, but the preparation of Hajj is your inner self as well. You need to prepare yourself to visit the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You need to prepare yourself to visit the noble city of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Brothers and sisters, I cannot emphasize upon this enough, that why aren't our lives changing even after so many virtuous days of Ramadan, performance of previous Hajj? Why do we not change our lives? Because we really don't intend to change our lives. We just have this in our mind that I got to do this for 1 week, 2 week, 3 week, come back and I got to go continue my life again. Brothers and sisters, al-Hajj huwa al-qasd. It's an intention, it's irada, it's feelings that you want to develop within your own self, that, oh Allah, bas, now it's time for me to relate myself with you. I need to come back towards you. Oh Allah, I need to bring my life towards your obedience. So number one thing is that when we begin the preparation of Hajj, we repent from our sins. These are things that we should be doing very frequently anyway. Resolving our outstanding differences, ill feelings, disputes, and seeks forgiveness from others. Don't do it ritually. A lot of time we make it as a ritual. We randomly send like 100 people a text message, forgive me, I'm going for Hajj, even though we hate them inside our hearts. Just because we're going for Hajj, we're going to send that. Please be genuine. I'm no one to judge anyone. Please, let's make ourselves genuine in our approach in seeking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's forgiveness, seeking the forgiveness of others, keeping ill feelings of others, disputes and outstanding differences. Seek forgiveness before you take this journey. Pay off your debts as much as you can, or if not, then fix something as a method of payments so that you do not become accountable for the debts that you have upon yourself. Make sure your wealth that you're using for Hajj is as halal as you can. And I say this, brothers and sisters, Allahu Akbar. The Sahaba used to cry over their hasanat and good deeds more than we cry over our sins, because they were afraid that it was not accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Sahaba would cry over their hasanat and good deeds more than we cry over our sins. So we try our best that, oh Allah, that you accept from me whatever tayyib and halal effort that I have made, that it can get accepted in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and begin to memorize and prepare the journey of Hajj. Please don't wait till the last moments. Please do not wait till the last point that someone will hold my hand and make me do Hajj. For dunya, for world, we prepare for so many things. Why can we not do that for Hajj? So please, there are so many resources. Don't wait for someone to give you a booklet of Hajj and you're going to start reading. No, look for it. All the things are available for us. It's us that we need to seek and look for these guidance, and inshallah, we can easily find them. So now, before we begin our Hajj itself, as we know that our Hajj is connected with Hajj Tamattu. Hajj Tamattu means that you perform Umrah, and then you come out of the Ihram, and then you re-wear the Ihram for Hajj. So let's talk about Umrah itself. Before we talk about Umrah, let's talk about Ihram. Ihram literally means to declare something unlawful upon oneself. This is what the word Ihram means. Haram, sometimes we say unlawful. So when we say Ihram, it means to make something unlawful upon your own self, even though it's halal. To cohabit with one's family is halal. To use attar and fragrance is halal. To trim one's hair in a right manner is halal. But when you make the intention of ihram, you have made specific things haram upon your own self. So it's a state. Ihram is not two pieces of clothing. It's not a scarf or a piece of clothing that our sister wear. Yes, that's the libas, the clothing of ihram. Ihram is more of a state. It's more of a feeling, intention, niyyah, and a state that we have of ourselves that is known as ihram. So ihram literally means to declare something unlawful upon oneself. Ihram is commonly referred to the clothing worn by a person performing Hajj or Umrah. However, ihram is the context of Sharia, which refers to entering into the state of adhering the prohibition of even normal permitted things, with the intention of performing Hajj or Umrah. The wearing of the white clothing symbolizes the state. It's not the ihram itself, but it symbolizes the state. Although the state is not entered into by wearing the sheets of clothing. If someone just wears the two sheets of clothing and says, I'm in ihram, you're not. You're just wearing the symbolization of ihram, but you are not in ihram at this moment. So this is what ihram actually means and state of ihram. What to do before ihram? Before coming into the state of ihram, it is sunnah to take a bath. It is mustahab. Mustahab means extra credit, rewarding. It's beneficial for a person to do these things. It's to trim one's mustache, to remove hair from particular areas, clip nails, and apply perfume. These are all things that are permissible. Now you may ask me, can we apply perfume on our ihram? No, you cannot. You can apply perfumes, cologne, and attar on your body, on your jism, but you cannot apply it on the clothing of ihram itself. Yes, if you got some deodorant or attar or fragrance or cologne or perfume on your body, and then you wore the ihram and it touched that, that's fine. As long as you did not spray upon your ihram something which was fragrant, that's perfectly fine. So taking a shower, removing of the unwanted hair, and clipping of your nails, oiling your body with fragrance and oil, that's perfectly fine. These are all the things to be done before ihram itself. For male, it is preferable to wear two white, new or washed sheet of clothing, an upper garment and a lower garment. Men should wear slippers and sandals which expose the tarsal bone, midfoot area where there is a protruding bone. So for the men, you only wear two sheets of clothing. There's no undergarment for an individual. Male, you're only wearing two sheets of clothing. And you're wearing shoes which are almost like flip-flops and sandals. You can consult with your local scholars and ask them particularly if these shoes are okay or not. And I humbly ask you to please do that. Don't be afraid. Reach out to your scholars and ask them questions, because this is your responsibility. There's no one who's going to come and raise your hand and say, you know what, brother, you're doing this wrong or right. Yes, some people may come to you, but you should yourself clarify these things so that you are comfortable in obeying the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you're wearing particular type of slip, and this is for males, for brothers. Two sheets of clothing, the upper garment, the lower garment. It could be new, it could be washed. Now sometimes people ask, I wore my ihram in my umrah, I washed it with detergent, it smells like detergent, you are fine. You did not use that to just make fragrance, but it's okay if there's still fragrance of that detergent in your use ihram. For female who may wear an abaya, meaning something that covers the entire body, scarves, gloves, socks, or shoes. For sisters, you do not have to have slippers. A lot of times sisters want to say that our ihram is with slippers too. No, be comfortable. Wear shoes that are closed, they're comfortable. The face, must not have anything touching physically. As one of the conditions of ihram is that nothing should be physically touching the face of the woman herself. Of course, however, as a part of hijab, a lady should cover the face if they want, with a fitted cap and a veil on top, so it's hanging but not directly touching the face, but it does not touch anything directly to the faces. So now after you have wore your ihram, what should be done? It is sunnah to perform 2 rakats of salah just before entering into the state of ihram, which is not a must. Sometimes you wear these ihram in your airplane, or when you are at a place where you're unable to perform these 2 rakats of salah. So at that moment, do not panic. Sometimes you're not able to make these 2 rakats. It's not going to nullify your ihram. You can still wear your ihram even though you have not performed those 2 rakats of salah. If you do have the capacity, the capability, the strength, the place, then yes, you should perform the 2 rakats of salah before you enter into the state of ihram. The Nabi of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in his particular surah, in which we can see in the end of the Hawala, يصلي في المواضع الحرام ركعتين قرأ ما شاء وأفضل أن يقرأ بعد الفاتحة قل يا أيها الكافرون والإخلاص تبركا بفعله عليه الصلاة والسلام. And of course, the Nabi of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam performed قل يا أيها الكافرون and قل هو الله أحد as 2 salahs, 2 rakats, the Prophet ﷺ performed when he entered into the state of ihram itself. When should ihram be worn? When is the ihram must be worn? One must enter into the state of ihram before passing the miqat. Miqat is the outer boundary from where those wishing to perform Hajj or Umrah must enter into the state of ihram. And there are 5 boundaries of ihram itself. Dhul Hulayfa, which is of course the north of Mecca, Al-Juhfa, which is the northwest of Mecca. These are for those who are coming from the west. Yalamlam, which is south of Mecca, Qarnul Manazil, which is the east of Mecca, and Dhatur Riqa, which is northeast of Mecca in the direction of Iraq. Just to give you an easy situation, if you are going from here to Mecca and you are landing in Jeddah, you have already crossed your miqat. So if you're landing in Jeddah, planning to go to Mecca, you must be in the state of ihram before you land in Jeddah. Because prior to you landing in Jeddah, you're already crossed the miqat. About 30 minutes they make that announcement. If you're landing in Medina and you're going to be in Medina for a few days, then you do not need ihram. If you have landed in Jeddah and you're going to drive to Medina, you still do not need ihram. The only time that you need ihram prior to landing in Jeddah is that when your direct intention is to go perform your umrah in Mecca. So I hope that makes it clear for those who are going. This is just a simple map of the boundaries of what miqat holds. How do I enter into the state of ihram? The state of ihram are 2 important factors. It is niyyah and talbiyah. 2 things that make up ihram. One may recite the following dua before entering into talbiyah, and this is the intention. Allahumma inni uridu al-umrah fayasirha li wa taqabbalha minni. Oh Allah, I make irada, an intention for umrah. Oh Allah, make this easy for me, and oh Allah, accept this from me. Very simple, very easy. So you ask for 2 things when you intend. Oh Allah, I am intending umrah, make it easy for me and accept. Asking for ease and then asking for acceptance. When it's for Hajj, exact same. Oh Allah, Allahumma inni uridul Hajj. Oh Allah, I intend Hajj, make it easy for me and accept this from me. So before we enter ihram, what we have done, we took a shower, we trimmed ourselves, we wore some attar and cologne, we wore the 2 pieces of clothing. The sisters are already in ihram and everything is taken care of. And for sisters, I may recommend one thing. Sisters, please be very careful when you wear your ihram. Make sure that your hair are not exposing. I know there's a lot of traveling, moving, running, so make sure that you tie your hair in such a manner that it does not show. Yes, while moving around, if that becomes visible, just move to the side and make sure that you secure that, which is beneficial for you, inshallah. So now, 2 things. Before you're about to enter ihram, you made your 2 rakats, قُلْ يَا الْكَافِرُونَ قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ, that's done. And now you want to enter into ihram. You want to take that state of ihram. So do 2 things. Number 1, make this intention. Oh Allah, make intention for umrah, make it easy and accept. Make it easy for yourself. If you don't know the Arabic of it, Ask in Urdu, English, Punjabi, you name it, man, whatever. Ask in any language that you can. But yes, if you know Arabic, if you can find this dua, then make it like this. Now, once you have made this, one should then recite the talbiyah with the intention of coming into ihram. And then you say, Labbaik Allahumma labbaik, labbaik la sharika laka labbaik, inna alhamda wa ni'mata laka wal mulk, la sharika lak. Brothers and sisters, I request you. This word will be said so much and so frequently by you. May Allah make this as a talbiyah for us again and again, inshaAllah. But please learn the meaning of this talbiyah. Just don't say this talbiyah like you are saying it as a parrot. Forgive me for using that. But please learn the meaning of this talbiyah. What are you telling Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? What are you saying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Labbaik Allahumma labbaik. Oh Allah, my Lord, I'm here. Oh Allah, I'm here. La sharika laka labbaik. There's none worthy of worship you except you, O Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm present. So please know the meaning of it. So when you are saying it, it comes from the heart rather than just from our tongues. So make sure that we are saying it from our heart and telling Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we are there. So two things, niyyah and talbiyah makes us enter inside the state of ihram. Now, labbaik, of course, is a very beautiful talbiyah. The talbiyah is, of course, beautiful words. Here I am at your service, O Lord, here I am. Here I am, there is no partner for you. Here I am, truly all praise, favors and sovereignty are yours. There is no partner for you. So we recite this talbiyah very often. Sahal ibn Sa'ad radiallahu anhu reports that the Prophet of Allah said, when a Muslim recites talbiyah, then verily every stone, tree, and even the ground around them recite this talbiyah with him till the end of the earth. Hadith of Tirmizi. The talbiyah should be recited as much as possible. Men should recite this talbiyah audibly, which is louder, without disturbing others. Our women folk, our sisters, should recite the talbiyah quietly because of their voices. The talbiyah should be recited individually. It's not a collective amal, but of course, if everyone does it collectively to remind themselves, that's still perfectly fine. Now, as soon as you said these two things, niyyah and talbiyah, you are in ihram. Now, some things became haram upon you. They are forbidden in ihram. What are some of the forbidden things in ihram? Sins are even more empathetically forgiven. Why? Because now you are in ihram. You are a muhram. You are visiting the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So even though sins are completely haram, but now even the sin becomes more dangerous for us to commit in a state of ihram. So please be careful. Every step counts when you are in ihram. Number two, foul language, fighting, quarreling is strictly forbidden. Brothers and sisters, I hear this a lot in Hajj. People say, you know what? I never pushed anyone. I never shoved anyone. I never cursed anyone in Hajj, brother. I was so good. I said, but that's your responsibility. You're not supposed to do that anyway. Why are you praising yourself? Your praise is that you should have told me that, brother, someone just pushed me. And I said, brother, it's okay, it's Hajj, I forgive you for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If someone was to take your place and you were supposed to say, but it's okay, you can sit down, I can stand up. If you would have told me, I said, mashallah, mubarak, Allah gave you tawfiq in Hajj. For you to say that you didn't push anyone, that's your responsibility. Praise yourself. You gotta do this. And you haven't done something extraordinary because that's our responsibility. So foul language, fighting, quarreling, please avoid. I beg you, brothers and sisters, for 2 to 3 weeks of your Hajj, give away your haqq. Give away your haqq. When you demand your haqq, then you cannot be able. I remember our Ustad Abdul Latif Saab, he said, Bhai, you need istiqamat and steadfastness in deen, then give up your haqq for the rest of your life. Allah will give you istiqamat in deen. Because if you start doing that, then you won't be able to go for too long. So in Hajj, you may find people who will be bad to you, rude to you. You'll find crowds of millions of people. Please, for the sake of Allah, for these 3 weeks, take it. Let there be no, there be no, effect of those actions in the way that you treat them. Allah's qasam, Allah will respect and increase your izzat and respect. You will not be degraded just because you didn't curse back someone who cursed at you. Just move away and walk away if you cannot handle yourself. So very, very important. So in the acts that are forbidden, sins and foul languages, all forms of intimacy with one's spouse, wearing day-to-day clothing, meaning things such as jubba, shirts, trousers, t-shirts, hats, etc. for men are not permissible. Using of perfume and fragrance are not allowed. Removing of body hair to comb, to pluck, to trim, or to cut the beard hair is not permitted. Clipping of the nails is not prohibited. Wearing footwear which covers, of course, the entire foot of an individual is also prohibited. That's for the men. Forbidden acts in ihram continue. It is forbidden for a male to cover the head with something touching the head. So for example, when you're in ihram, please don't cover yourself with your sheet of ihram and cover yourself so you can get a little bit of sleep. Please don't do that. For men, you cannot cover your head when you are in the state of ihram. For a female to let a cloth cover her face in a manner that it touches her face, we should avoid that as much as we can. To hunt or help in hunting, to kill lice, all of these acts done will result in penalty, whether by mistake or doing it forgetfully itself. What are some of the things that are acceptable in ihram? Having a shower for purification or for coolness, as long as you're not using fragrance, as long as you're not using soap, as long as you're not rubbing your body and breaking your hair. If you are in the state of ihram, you're really, really hot, you go and you hang the 2 sheets of clothing, the sisters remove the clothing that they have, and you just stand underneath the shower, and you just cool yourself down and get a little bit of breeze and cool yourself down, and you wear your ihram, you're still perfectly fine. Removing of your clothing don't take you out of the state of ihram itself. Using unscented soap, however, it is preferable not to remove dirt, just so that you can show to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that, oh Allah, I'm a musafir, I'm a traveler that has come to your doorsteps. That, oh Allah, I have come to you to beg from you as I am a musafir and a traveler at your doorsteps. When you take injections, be it insulin, bandages, to wear glasses, to wear sunglasses or watch, or to change diapers for children. A lot of time people ask this question. To use miswak, it is permissible to wrap yourself in a blanket, the whole body, so long as your face is not covered in it. To wear a belt, sometimes the belts have stitches on it, that's perfectly fine. Your shoes have stitching on it, that's also fine. And to kill something that is harmful to you, so scorpions, snakes, mosquitoes, wasps, and flies, which are a means of hurdle for you, if they are killed in ihram, that's perfectly fine. There are 7 things which make up an umrah for us. These are the checklists for all of you to know that you have done your umrah properly. So number 1 is, of course, you perform the ghusl and you take a bath of ihram. That's sunnah. If you miss that, you're still okay. The 2 rakats before ihram, that's sunnah. If you miss that, you're still okay. But I would recommend do everything that you can. It's once in a lifetime journey. Number 3 is that you come in the state of ihram with intention and talbiyah. That's farida, that's a condition of it. Next is tawaf, then the 2 rakats of tawaf, then the sa'i between Safa and Marwa, and last but not least, it's halaq, which is shaving, and qasr, which is known as trimming. This is wajib and necessary. So now, let's come towards entering Makkah. When you enter the city of Makkah, brothers and sisters, the city of Makkah should be entered with humbleness, with heartfulness of consciousness and gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is not a sightseeing trip, brothers and sisters. You are not going to vacation. If you need vacation, please take it after your Hajj or before your Hajj. Your trip to Hajj itself is ibadah. Please make sure that our minds are there, that I'm going for ibadah and worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Upon entering the city of Makkah, one will be taken to the hotels. Place your baggages in the hotel. If you're really tired and it's not salah time at the moment, it is advisable that you rest before your umrah, lay down for a little bit. Umrah can take many hours at the time when it's Hajj and it's peak time like Hajj season, and therefore requires plenty of energy. If one is traveling with an elderly or unwell individual, it may be wise idea to perform umrah at night when there is less heat, because it's going to be hot when we get there. June itself, it's in July, it's extremely hot time during the course, and of course August, sorry. It's extremely hot, so we need to make sure that we are okay at that time. One should be engaged in reciting the talbiyah all the time when we are in Mecca, even before we start our umrah. When we entering Masjid al-Haram, enter with your right foot, reading the dua and reciting salawat and blessings upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Proceed to the Kaaba not as a tourist, but as an abd and the servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Please enter the Kaaba and approach the house of Allah as a ghulam, as a servant, not as a person who is a tourist, with the utmost humbleness. Reach a place where the Kaaba is clearly in front of you and it's visible, and there is no obstruction between you and Kaaba. And I humbly request you, if you're writing notes, mark this as a star for yourself. This is a point where your dua inshallah, will definitely be accepted. This is a very sacred place and time of acceptance of dua. Please make sure that you have a plan for yourself. I gotta get something from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm not coming back empty-handed. So the first time that you enter the Kaaba and you see the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's one key point. I say this every year, I do this Hajj thing. A few years ago, we were in Hajj with a bunch of youngsters. I told everyone to make dua like this. We went, everyone stood, we made dua, everyone got done. I was done like 3-4 minutes. Everyone was done like 5-7 minutes. There was this one youngster from Long Island. Subhanallah, this kid stood there for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. This kid is pouring his heart out and he's crying so much, and I'm saying, you know what, Allah accepts whoever He accepts. An ajib thing happened was that Allah accepted him to go and study in Medina afterwards too. After a few years, he went and he studied hadith in Medina as well. But it's all from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I'm saying that this is one of those beautiful points to make sure that you make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So a very sacred point. So as soon as you enter Mecca for the first time and you are going to the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, please make tons of dua because it's really acceptable. Now Masjid al-Haram. This is something that you can have an aerial map of it. This is humongous and there's so much that can be discussed. Physical appearance of the Kaaba. There are 4 corners to the houses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One corner where you see this green light in a little circle that is known as the corner of Hajj al-Aswad. There is no more green line anymore, which is known as the start line. There is a green light that actually stands right across of this, but it's not any line on the floor anymore. Right next to it is the door of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's house, which is the door of the Kaaba. Brothers and sisters, I want you to pay close attention to this. Where it says Hajj al-Aswad and it says the door of the Kaaba, between that you will see something called Al-Multazam. Do you guys see it? Does everyone see where it says Al-Multazam? This is the location between the Hajj al-Aswad and between the Kaaba. For those who have been there or seen pictures, that's the place where the police guy is standing. That's the Multazam. That's the location where the most dua are the most readily accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If Allah gives you tawfiq, stand there and get your chest there and make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you can get there and without pushing and shoving people, that's one spot you don't want to miss while you want to make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Multazim is a very, very important sacred place, of course, of the Kaaba, of dua. Kaswa actually is the clothing which is covering the Kaaba itself. You see Maqam Ibrahim, the semicircle is known as Hatim. That corner where the Hatim actually begins from the side is known as the Iraqi corner. Then of course there's a rainwater spout which is the Mizab. Then we have the Syrian corner and then we have the Yemeni corner. There is nowhere in the Kaaba where we have to do istilam, we have to kiss and we have to touch. There's nothing like this except for Hajj al-Aswad. A lot of time you will find people doing istilam and kissing every corner. There's no kissing on every single corner. The only kissing or touching is the corner of Hajj al-Aswad except for the Yemeni corner. There's no pointing to it. If you can physically touch it with your right hand, just touch it. If you cannot physically touch it, just walk by it. You don't have to do istilam to it. The only thing that you touch or you share or you point towards is the Hajj al-Aswad itself. So this is something physical of the Kaaba itself. How do we do tawaf and preparation for tawaf? Tawaf is a compulsory part of Umrah and Hajj. Tawaf is to walk around the Kaaba 7 times. It is wajib and necessary to have wudu when performing tawaf. Please, this is very, very short. So sisters, if you need to make sure that you are in purity, brothers, you need to make sure that you have your wudu when you are performing your tawaf because this is your ibadah. To begin tawaf, one should proceed to the corner of the Kaaba where the black stone is. So you face the corner where the Hajj al-Aswad is. Men at that moment should uncover their right shoulders by taking the ihram sheet under their right arm, and this is called ittiba. Ittiba should be done shortly before the tawaf. Likewise, once the tawaf is completed, one should cover the shoulder again. It shouldn't remain empty for whole of your umrah. It's only for the 7 rounds that you're going, just uncover your right shoulder, only for the men. Women must not uncover any part of their body. The recitation of talbiyah ends as soon as the commencing and the starting of tawaf begins. Now, tawaf is starting now. Step in line with the black stone with your body facing it, like you are making salah. Now 2 actions need to be done. That's only in the beginning of tawaf. When you're beginning your tawaf, 2 things must be done. Number one, you have to do istiqbal. What does istiqbal means? Istiqbal means to raise one's hands like the one does it while they are making salah. And the black stone is in front of them and they say, Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah. This is the istiqbal of your entering and starting of your tawaf. After raising your hands and saying the above words, one will put down the hands to the side. This will always be done when the tawaf begins. Only once. This is the first time only. Now once that is done, you have to do part two, and that is known as istilam. Istilam is to make some form of direct contact or indirect contact with Hajar al-Aswad, the black stone. If one can touch the black stone without pushing and shoving and causing some difficulty, then one should place both the hands on the stone and then place it on one's lips afterwards. When kissing the black stone, a noise should not be made, hurting people. To do and respect a Muslim is larger than you going and touching the Hajar al-Aswad and saying that you have done that. If one cannot kiss the stone, then merely touching a stone and kissing one hand will suffice. Nowadays, because of the crowd, the above are completely, difficult and very impossible. So now what do I do? So it is sufficient to be in line with the black stone facing in the form from a distance, then palms of both hands raised towards the black stone and saying Bismillahi Allahu Akbar. Both hands, Bismillahi Allahu Akbar. After pointing to the black stone with one's palms, one should kiss his hand, Allahu Akbar, Bismillah Allahu Akbar, kiss it and put it to the down. This is istiqbal and this is istilam. Two things beginning your tawaf. Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah. That's only done once when you begin your tawaf. Istilam, Bismillah Allahu Akbar, kissing your hand, happens every time that you cross the Kaaba, which is Hajar al-Aswad. Istilam will be performed a total of 8 times at the beginning of every round of tawaf, at the completion of the 7th round. So I hope that's clear. So once you begin and once you end, you do that, which is known as istilam. Istiqbal is only once, istilam is every single time. This is Hajar al-Aswad. The best way to know where Hajar al-Aswad is, there's a corner where you will see more embroidery on the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You will figure it out. Allah gives tawfiq and it's easy to understand. The green light you can also see. Tawaf. After performing your istilam, one will begin tawaf, circumambulation of the Kaaba. A male will walk briskly in the first 3 rounds. Make sure you do this. It's a sunnah. This is called ramal. Your right shoulder is empty, and for the first 3 rounds of your tawaf, you're doing ramal. You're walking a little faster. Not that you are running and cutting people out, but you're walking in strength, showing that Allah has given you that strength. It is not possible to walk briskly due to the crowd or due to the ones having to look after one's family. Then you may walk normally. That's perfectly fine for you. A female will not do ramal. She will not run. She will not sprint. She will just walk normally. Ramal will only be performed in the first 3 rounds. The last 4 rounds, you just do normally. In the last 4 rounds, a man should walk normally. Ramal and ittiba will only take place in that tawaf which has a sa'i after it. In nafal tawaf, one will not perform ramal and ittiba. So for example, you're doing a nafli tawaf and you're not wearing ihram. So you don't have to uncover your shoulder because you can't. And you're not going to do the first ramal in the first 3 rounds because you're not wearing ihram. And there's no sa'i afterwards. So your nafli tawaf doesn't have ramal, it doesn't have ittiba itself. So now this is how you start. You start your tawaf from black stone and you finish at the black stone. It is sunnah that when you reach the Yamani corner, you go the first side, the second side, the third side. When you're crossing the last side, every round, you recite this dua from the Quran, Rabbana atina fid dunya hasana wa fil akhirati hasana wa qina adhabana. This is sunnah. To recite this every time that you reach the last portion of it. Starting point and ending point, to make sure that we do this. You can go front of Maqam Ibrahim or you could be behind Maqam Ibrahim. Some other rulings related to tawaf. One must walk around the hatim and not cut through the hatim. Now they have already closed this down. During tawaf, recite Quran, dhikr, dua. One should avoid talking while performing tawaf. There's no particular dua of the first round or the second round, but there's dua and supplications that you make from your own heart. One should not read so loud in a manner which disturbs others. It is disliked to eat. If you are thirsty, hungry, you need something, diabetic, you can sit down and eat something on a side. You can drink some zamzam. That's okay if you are in need of that. One may drink zamzam in between if one feels thirsty. While performing tawaf, if one wudu breaks, because we have to have wudu, if one's wudu break, a fard salah starts, or one needs to take a break, then it is permissible to pause and then continue from the very place that you have stopped. It is not that if I stop, then I have to restart from the beginning. No, you can stop and then restart. One will not gesture to any other corner of the Kaaba beside the corner with a black stone. It is mustahab to touch the Rukn al-Yamani, the Yemeni corner, if possible. If one cannot go near it due to the crowd, one should not gesture towards it. The Rukn al-Yamani should not also be kissed. This is Rukn al-Yamani. This is the corner of Rukn al-Yamani, which is a corner right behind the black stone. The completion of the tawaf. When you are doing tawaf, brothers and sisters, do not look around. Do not even look towards the Kaaba. It's ibadah. Focus, focus, focus. You are circumambulating around the house of Allah. Make sure that you're focusing in ibadah. The tawaf is completed upon making istilam at Hajj al-Aswad, the black stone, at the end of the 7th round. This will be the 8th istilam in total. It is wajib now to perform 2 rakats after tawaf. The 2 rakats should not be performed in makruh time of salah, of course, the disliked times. And of course, these times are after Fajr, sunrise, and zinat, after Asr, and of course, the sunset. It is preferable to perform these 2 rakats behind Maqam al-Ibrahim. But of course, there's so much rush that if you cannot find a place, then you can make these 2 rakats anywhere in the haram, which doesn't cause disturbance to others. So once you are done with your tawaf, you're done with your 2 rakats of salah, you made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you drank some zamzam, you freshened up a little bit, now it's time for sa'i. Sa'i is wajib element of umrah. It is performed after tawaf. Sa'i is to walk between the 2 hillocks, the Safa and Marwa. Sa'i is performed by walking between these 2 hillocks 7 times, starting from Safa, ending in Marwa. The place where sa'i actually is performed itself is known as Masa. After performing the 2 rakats of tawaf, one should go in line for Hajj al-Aswad and again do istilam for commencing of sa'i. So before you begin your sa'i, you do another istilam. When he will then exit the masjid and head towards Safa, which is located in Masa, where people are doing sa'i itself. So if you see the single minaret on the top, all the way towards the top, a little dome and a single minaret, that's Safa. And a single dome without a minaret on the bottom left itself, that's Marwa. So you will start with a single dome on the top and you will come towards the dome only, which is Marwa, and that's 1. Then you will go from Marwa back towards Safa, and that's how it is. So you can see it's pretty lengthy, it's pretty long, but of course Allah is the one who gives the strength. So this is the Safa Marwa when it was being constructed. Now mashallah it's pretty much done. Once one will come to Safa hillock, ensuring one is standing on Safa itself, you face the Kaaba and you say these words, Allahu Akbar, la ilaha illallah. You're not raising hands, you're not doing anything. You're standing on Safa and you're saying this, Allahu Akbar, la ilaha illallah. And then you make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and now you head towards Marwa. When the green lights approach between Safa and Marwa, a male should run until the next green light. Of course, the woman would not. So the green lights come in such a way that it's almost near Safa, further away from Marwa, and you walk a little faster and brisk. If you have family members with you, then you don't have to run and you don't have to walk faster than usual. Woman will not run between the 2 green lights at Masa. When a person reaches Marwa, he has completed 1 lap. Going and coming is not 1. Going is 1, coming back is the 2nd. Al-Marwa, one will again face towards the Kaaba and say, Allahu Akbar, la ilaha illallah. You only say Allahu Akbar, la ilaha illallah when you reach that mountain top. One should then make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. After making dua, one will head again back towards Safa, and one will repeatedly do this until he finishes the 7th lap from Safa to Marwa itself. This is how Safa actually looks. It says Safa starts, and you will have this visibly in front of you. That's how Marwa is. It says Marwa mountain, and you will see this very enclosed. It has 5 floors. You have multiple places to do your sa'i itself. Completing of sa'i. After standing on Marwa the 7th time and making dua, it is mustahab. If you want, you can perform the 2 rakats in the masjid, thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is not necessary to have wudu when performing sa'i, but I would say please make sure that you have wudu, because that's the aspect which will allow you to perform your ibadah with due diligence. One should engage in dhikr and dua. There is no particular dua of Safa and Marwa. There are certain ayats in dua you can do, but there is no first round, second round, third round. It's just engaging in dua and dhikr. If salah starts or needs to take a break, it is permissible to continue from where one has paused. Now you are done with your aspects, but you are still in ihram. Shaving or trimming the hair is wajib, necessary for men to come out of ihram. Shaving the head, of course, is better than trimming the hair. All the hair of the head should be shaved or trimmed. It is permissible to cut one's own hair or go to the barber. A woman must only cut an inch of her hair and no more from the bottom of her hair. She can cut it herself to make her come out of the state of ihram. Once a person cuts her hair, they are free from the laws of ihram, and the umrah itself is complete. Now there are particular rulings related to the females of ihram. I'm just going to quickly, quick skip to them because we got other stuff to cover, which is really, really important. We only got like 15-20 minutes. So Hajj guide. So now let's perform Hajj. So your Umrah is complete. Now you're in Medina, now you're in Mecca, you're doing all the good stuff, whatever you need to do. Now your Hajj actually is beginning. Rasulullah said that what is the greatest of the action? He says, Iman billahi wa Rasul. Then what is the best? He said, Jihad fi sabilillah. And then what is that? And he said, Hajjul Mabrur. The Prophet of Allah said, one Umrah to another Umrah is the means of forgiveness of all the sins. And Hajj al-Mabrur, and accepted Hajj, there is no reward less than Jannah for this. May Allah grant us Hajj al-Mabrur. The Prophet ﷺ said, whoever performs Hajj to the house of Allah, which is the Kaaba, do not commit any obscenity and wrongdoings, and he and she comes back pure from sins as the day that the mother had given them birth. Well, there are 15 important things to keep in Hajj. There are 5 or 6 days of Hajj, depending upon how many days you are spending there. There is, of course, the ihram of Hajj. Then there is the wuquf, the staying of the Mina. Then there is the wuquf of Arafah. Then there is the wuquf of Muzdalifah. The word wuquf means to stay and to station yourself at a certain location. Rami of big pillar, which is known as the pelting of the stones. Nahar, which means the sacrifice of the animals. Tawaf al-ziyarah means the tawaf of the house of Allah and the sa'i between Safa and Marwa, the sa'i of Hajj. Then of course the wuquf of Mina on the 11th day. Then again Rami and the pelting of the stones for 3 days, 3 stones, the 11th, 12th, and of course if a person stays for the 13th. So coming to the state of ihram. Once you are done with your umrah, you're spending your time, now you have to come back into the state of ihram. The morning of the 8th of Zul-Hajjah is a time that you will re-wear your ihram for Hajj. It is better to come into the state of ihram prior to the 8th of Zul-Hajjah, but of course if you come in the state of ihram on the 8th of Zul-Hajjah, you are still perfectly fine. It is preferable that you come in the state of ihram while you are in Masjid al-Haram. However, it is permissible to do so from any place, even your hotel room. Simply wear your ihram clothing in your hotel room, proceed to the masjid, make the intention as you did for Umrah, recite the talbiyah, and now you will abide by the laws of ihram for Umrah and Hajj, just like you did before. In Hajj Tamattu, if you're doing Hajj Tamattu, there is no tawaf al-qudum. You don't have to do an introductory tawaf. You just are in ihram and you're good for your Hajj, for all of us, which is known as Hajj Tamattu. So the first day of Hajj begins. One will perform Fajr Salah in Mecca. It is sunnah to leave Mecca towards Mina after the sunrise. It is permissible to go to Mina before sunrise, but of course it's contrary to sunnah. One will perform Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha, and the next day's Fajr in Mina itself. So these are the 5 salawat and prayers. So the first day of Hajj is the 8th of Zul-Hajjah. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 are the 5 days of Hajj. So on the 8th of Zul-Hajjah, after your Fajr in Mecca, you perform in your hotel, wherever you are, and you reach Mina before your Dhuhr Salah. So now you're going to make your Dhuhr, you're going to make your Asr, you're going to make your Maghrib, your Isha, and you're also going to even perform the Fajr of the 9th of Zul-Hajjah itself. It is sunnah to spend the night at Mina and perform Fajr there. And this is how it is. Mecca, then Mina, then Muzdalifah is in the middle, and Arafah is all the way towards the end, which is, this picture is a little complicated, so I'm just going to skip that. So now when you reach Mina, you're going to see big signs like these saying Mina has started. This is the tent city, like proper city, which is full of tent. As far as your eyes can see, wallahi, you will see tents. And it's such a beautiful sight to see so many people gathered together for the ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the map that you will see standing on the jamarat, where you're pelting the stones. You will see a place like this filled with individuals and human beings. This is the aerial map of Mina itself. So the first day of Hajj is the 8th of Zul-Hajjah, which is known as Yawm al-Tarwiyah. If one intends to stay in Mecca for 15 days, he will then perform his full salah. But most of us don't stay for these many long days. If one is staying for less than 15 days in Mecca, he or she will be a musafir, and they will shorten their prayers. So when you are in Mina, you will be making qasr salah. Your zuhr will be qasr, your asr will be qasr, which means half, your maghrib, isha, and of course fajr. All of them will be qasr, but of course making sure that we are involving ourselves in ibadah. One should spend his day and night in worship, recite the Quran, engage in dhikr, perform nafal, and of course make abundant dua. Now it's the second day of Hajj already. The first day gone so quickly. The thing that we've been waiting for so long, it's already gone. It's the second day of Hajj. After your Fajr Salah, it is wajib to recite Takbirat al-Tashriq. You know, Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, wa lillahi alhamd. It begins from the morning of the 9th of Al-Hajjah. It is wajib upon men, and women can recite Takbir al-Tashriq. Only men will recite the Takbir audibly. This will begin on the 9th of Zul-Hajjah after Fajr until the Asr of the 13th of Zul-Hajjah. The Takbir will be recited after every single prayer. Now the second day, one should perform Fajr in Mina. Once you are done, after the sunrise, you step onward towards Arafah. It is wajib to perform wuquf, station oneself in Arafah from the middle of the day till the sunset. This is the most important time of Hajj. Put like 3 stars there, because that's where your Hajj truly is. The 9th of Zul-Hajjah, which is known as Yawmul Arafah, from the midday after your Zuhr Asr is done till the sunset, is the most important time of your Hajj. One must stay within the boundaries of Arafah during this period. And of course, this is signs which says Arafah has started. If one is performing Salah with own, of course, group individually, they will perform Dhuhr and Asr. There is a masjid known as Masjid Namira. Masjid Namira is a close by masjid which is very close by but very difficult to reach. A lot of time people want to go there and perform Salah, and they come back to their own tents and everything is gone already. So I would prefer stay in your tent, stay with your group, and do your ibadah rather than finding Masjid Namira and coming back and losing the day of Arafah itself. So once you are done with your Dhuhr, once you are done with your Asr in your tents in Mina, now one should remain engaged in dhikr and dua in the plains of Arafah. The talbiyah should be recited time to time, standing near Jabal Rahmah if you can. However, it is not necessary. Climbing the mountain, offering salah is not established from sunnah. The Nabi of Allah didn't climb the mountains and establish. This is not from sunnah. So spending our time. So Arafah is like this. You will find people outside looking for places where they can stand and pour their hearts out to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is known as the mountain of Jabal Rahmah. You will also see so many people. So it is wajib to stay in Arafah until sunset. It is not permissible to depart Arafah before then. After, of course, the sunset is done, one should immediately leave towards Muzdalifah. But brothers and sisters, let me take 1 minute here. When you are in Arafah from midday, after you have performed your Dhuhr, you have performed your Asr, and of course there is no Maghrib in Arafah, I humbly request you, I cannot emphasize enough. That's the time where you find a corner that you stand, that you do not know anyone. And it's only you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Please take that time and pour your heart out. Rasulullah said, Al-Hajju Arafah. Hajj itself is Arafah. If you get what you need in Arafah, you got your Hajj, brothers and sisters. Very, very important to spend hours, if you can, in making dua. Sahaba said, we saw Rasulullah he was mounted on his camel. The Nabi of Allah would rise his hands like this, and we can see the whiteness of the armpits of the Prophet ﷺ, but he was praying like this. There are 2 times in the seerah, which I have read, and of course there might be other places as well, where Rasulullah ﷺ raised his hands like this to make dua. One was the day of Badr, when he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the nusrah of 313 people. Oh Allah, I brought with me 313. Oh Allah, if these don't remain, there will be no one to say your name till the day of Qiyamah. That was 313, the day of Badr. The second time was this time, the day of Arafah. He raised his hands like this and he begged Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Hours and hours and hours of begging Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I asked you, use your day of Arafah as a day that you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for whatever you need. So now you're making dua, you're making your dua, and it's almost sunset time. After the sunset is complete, one should leave Arafah immediately after sunset towards Muzdalifah. Do not perform your Maghrib there. You only perform your Dhuhr and your Asr in Arafah, sorry. Once your Arafah is complete, sunset is done, now you're proceeding towards Muzdalifah. Do not perform your Maghrib in the plains of Arafah, neither perform Maghrib or Isha en route towards Muzdalifah. Some people are panicking, brother, we are already too late, let's make it in the way. Relax, it's okay. Because Rasulullah himself delayed his Maghrib and he made it together in Muzdalifah. Maghrib will be performed with Isha at Isha's time at Muzdalifah itself. Muzdalifah is in the route of coming back towards Mina itself. It's going to be dark, it's going to be late, it's going to be a time where you are easily able to get lost from your group. Please make sure when you're leaving Arafah and going to Muzdalifah, you hold on tight to someone who knows the area. Please do not get lost. Know where you are. Have your IDs or badges or whatever you have from your groups so you know who you are and people know who you are as well. That night is very critical. So many people get lost and then they find no place to go. So once you reach Muzdalifah in the middle of the night, Maghrib and Isha will be performed in the following manner. There will be one adhan and one iqamah, followed by fard of Maghrib. Straight after that, the fard of Isha. Do not perform the sunnah of Maghrib in between the sunnah of Maghrib and Isha, and the witr salah will be performed after Isha prayer in order. This is how Muzdalifah looks. This is something everyone has to share. There's no roof on top of you. In Arafah, you have a nice tent, you have an AC, you got everything. In Muzdalifah, there's nothing that is on top of your head, except, of course, the skies from the heavens that you spend that night. Usually, it's a floor that you just sleep upon, but Ajib thing is that it's one of the most sweetest sleep that you will ever have, that you will enjoy truly, subhanAllah. At Muzdalifah, you will reach there, you will perform. It is recommended that one collects the pebbles from Muzdalifah to pelt to Jamarat. It is permissible to collect these pebbles from anywhere in Haram. However, one should not take the pebbles from around the place of Jamarat. How many do you have to collect? On the 10th of Zul Hajjah, you will throw 7 pebbles. On the 11th of Zul Hajjah, you will pelt 21. And on the 12th of Zul Hajjah, you will pelt 21 again, which makes it around 49. If you're staying for an additional day of Hajj, which is the 13th of Zul Hajjah, that's an optional day. Then you will have another 21 to pelt, so you make sure that you have 70 pebbles. So anywhere from 49 to 70 pebbles should be collected in Muzdalifah. Wuquf of Muzdalifah. Even if one performs Maghrib and Isha Salah individually, he will combine them and perform the Sunnah and Witr after Isha's prayers. It is Sunnah to spend the night in Muzdalifah. Fajr should be performed as soon as the time begins. It is wajib to perform wuquf for short moments between Fajr and sunrise. For those who are taking notes, please put a star next to this. Another spot where your dua are very, very readily accepted. Right after the Fajr of the third day of your Hajj, in Muzdalifah, this is known as wuquf in Muzdalifah. Right after your Fajr in Muzdalifah, please stand and make dua. This is known as wuquf of Muzdalifah. So many times, subhanAllah, the hadith I mentioned, that the dua are so accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is sunnah to remain in wuquf, meaning standing between Fajr and until sometimes before the sunrise. One should remain and engage in salah, dhikr, dua, all of this time. So the wuquf of Arafah is from the midday till sunset. The wuquf of Muzdalifah is after Fajr, a little bit before the sunrise. Very important time that you make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Muzdalifah before you return to Medina. You return to Mina. After a couple of minutes before sunrise, one should leave Muzdalifah and they should head towards Mina itself. Now when you reach back to Mina, now what do you need to do? You begin your third day already. You already made the Fajr of the third day, which is the 10th of Zul Hajjah. This is known as Yawmun Nahar, which is also known as Eidul Adha, the day of Eid itself. There are 4 acts to be performed between the 10th and the 12th of Zul Hajjah. One, of course, is Rami, the pelting of the stones. This has to be performed each day, the 10th, 11th, and the 12th. Nahar, the sacrifice of the animal, that is only done on the 3rd day, which is the 10th of Zul Hajjah. Halaq and Qasr, which is, of course, the shaving and the trimming of the hair, and Tawaf al-Ziyarah. Let's talk about these things very quickly. Rami. Pelting is performed on the 10th, 11th, and the 12th of Zul Hajjah. Nahar, which is known as the sacrifice of the animal. Halaq and Qasr, which is the shaving of your head and cutting of the hair. And Tawaf al-Ziyarah, must be performed within the 3 days, the 10th, 11th, and 12th, except for those women who need time to purify themselves, and then they can do so that later as well. The rami, the pelting on the 10th of Zul-Hajjah, nahar, an animal, all should be performed in a sequence. I want to repeat this again. On the 10th of Dhul-Hajjah, when you're done with your Fajr in Muzdalifah, you're coming to Mina. Now you're going to do 3 things, and they must be done in an order. First thing is, you're going to throw stones, 7 stones, Rami al-Jamarat, the big shaitan, on the morning of the 10th of Dhul-Hajjah. Number 1. Number 2, you are going to sacrifice an animal. You cannot physically go yourself, but the group that you're going with, make sure that they sacrifice your animal on a time that they tell you that your animal is sacrificed. Sometimes the animals are sacrificed days before. Please forgive me for saying that, but be careful. Know who's doing your qurbani and your sacrifice. You're paying money for it. You should make sure that they're accountable for making your qurbani in the proper manner. A lot of time we ourselves are too weak to ask. Please make sure that you ask these things. When is my qurbani or sacrifice or nahar being performed? I need the exact timings and point when the nahar is complete. You're not doing it free. You performed and you paid for it. Make sure it's done properly and according to sunnah. So the 3 things you must do. Pelt 7 stones. Number 2, nahar, sacrifice of the animal. You receive a call, your group leader tell you that your nahar and your sacrifice is done. Now you can do nahar, you can do qasr or halaq. The sisters can cut the hair, and now they are out of the state of ihram itself. Mina has 3 tall pillars known as jamarat. The 3 pillars are known as Jamar al-Aqaba, which of course is also known as Kubra, the big pillar, the one which is the middle pillar, and a Sughra, which is a small pillar. These pillars are not shayateen, so please do not throw your slippers there. Please do not curse at them. Please do not do wild stuff there. There's no shaitan trapped inside these walls. There are not cages inside. I wish that was the case. These pillars mark the place where Prophet Ibrahim a.s. was tested by the whispers of shaitan. So these are the places and maqamat where Ibrahim a.s. was tested. That's how it looks. It's huge. It's like football fields over football fields, meaning it's huge. And it's one-way traffic, and there are 5 floors to it, including the roof itself. So you can have millions of people go at one time. This is the aerial map of the area itself from all different sides. The jamarat usually look like the pillars like these, which people are standing on all sides and they're pelting this towards the particular wall itself. Rami, pelting of the jamarat. Rami itself, which is pelting of the stone, is wajib. Men and women must pelt the pillars. It is sunnah to say Allahu Akbar with every throw. The recitation of talbiyah will end upon the first stone that you throw. No more talbiyah after this. Your talbiyah ends after the first stone that is thrown. As long as the pebbles land within the enclosure, you're good. If it falls much far away, then you got to redo it itself. Do not stop to make dua at the big pillar after pelting, but keep on moving. It is sunnah to pelt with your right hand. One should throw the pebble at one time. Don't throw 7 at once. Please throw 1 at a time. The Nabi of Allah said, Allahu Akbar. I love this hadith. For every stone that you throw to Jamara as a stone, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive one sin that if it was not forgiven by Allah could have destroyed you on the day of Qiyamah. Halak kar dene wala gunaha. An action that could have destroyed this man on the day of Qiyamah, Allah will forgive the sin on behalf of that person for every stone that they are throwing. So on the 10th of Zul-Hajjah, the only Jamra al-Aqaba, the big shaitan, will be pelted 7 times. The times for the pelting of the Jamra, of course, before sunrise is makruh, but after the sunrise to midday is sunnah. Due to the crowd, if you take a little bit more time, that's perfectly fine, but after the sunrise, on the morning of the 10th, you do this pelting. On the 10th of Zul-Hajjah, only pelting the biggest pillar 7 times. Do not make dua after pelting the big shaitan. On the 11th, 12th, and the 13th, if one stays on the 13th, one will pelt each pillar 7 times, beginning with the small, medium, and large. After small, there is 7 stones, there is dua. Medium, there is dua. Large jamra, there is no dua after pelting those stones. Stop to make dua after pelting the small and the middle pillar. There is no dua after pelting the large jamra itself. Animal slaughter. It is wajib to perform an animal slaughter before the sunset of the 12th of Hajj. The sacrifice is known as dam shukr. It is wajib upon those who are performing Hajj tamattu in Qiran. The animal slaughter is usually arranged by one's own Hajj group. One may slaughter the animals himself if one needs to. Halaq and shaving in qasr is wajib. A person will be free from the restrictions of ihram when one performs either halaq and qasr. But, this is important, you are out of your ihram, which is known as minor ihram. But the prohibition of the intimate relationship with one's spouse is still imposed until you complete your tawaf al-ziyarah. So if you have completed your three things, you pelted the stone, the sacrifice of the animals, you shave your head, now you're out of your ihram, you're wearing your normal clothing, but you are not allowed to be intimate with your spouse till you have completed your tawaf al-ziyarah. Your tawaf al-ziyarah is completion of your ihram itself. What is tawaf al-ziyarah? Tawaf al-ziyarah is the farz of Hajj. It has to be performed between the 10th of Zul-Hajjah till the 12th of Zul-Hajjah. It is preferable to perform tawaf al-ziyarah after your halaq and qasr is complete. Until tawaf al-ziyarah is not performed, one cannot be intimate with one's spouse. Every element of Hajj can be performed in one's menses and of course impurity except for tawaf. If a woman cannot perform tawaf al-ziyarah due to her impurities, then there is no penalty for her in delaying it, even if she does it after the 12th of Zul-Hajjah. So the tawaf will be normal like you do so in your clothing, but make sure, brothers and sisters, tawaf al-ziyarah also has a sa'i with it. Don't come back after 7 rounds and say you're done with tawaf al-ziyarah. Tawaf al-ziyarah has a sa'i attached to it, which is must, that has to be done. Sa'i is wajib element of Hajj. The preferable time for that is after tawaf al-ziyarah. If a person performs the sa'i after tawaf al-ziyarah, he will perform ramal in the first 3 rounds. This sa'i can be performed in any of the Hajj days. One condition is to follow a tawaf. After your tawaf al-ziyarah is complete, all the rules of ihram are uplifted after tawaf al-ziyarah, and it is sunnah to go and spend the night in Mina itself. Now you're on the 4th day of Hajj. Whatever actions of the previous day have not been completed, one should try to complete them. The rami, the pelting of the stones, the jamarat, is wajib on the 11th of Zul-Hajjah. The order of pelting is from the smallest to the largest. The time of pelting on the 10th, 11th and the 12th of Zul-Hajjah, from zawal to sunset, it's sunnah. After your midday, after your dhuhr is complete, then you can go and you pelt your stone. It is permissible to perform the rami after sunset until fajr if it's difficult for you to go, but of course one should try to do this after the sun, after the Zohar Salah is complete. 5th day you do the exact same thing that you did the 11th, the 4th day. The procedure of this day are identical to what you did on the 11th of Zul-Hajjah. Namely, one will be performing rami, pelting the stones after your zawal. Any action remaining from the 10th must be completed at this time. If one does not have to leave Mina and stays there until as-subh sadiq, meaning the breaking of the dawn, which is the beginning of the time of Fajr, then rami becomes wajib for the 13th Zul-Hajjah as well. So if you're staying for the 12th Zul-Hajjah, which is 5 days of Hajj, you leave before the Maghrib. If you are staying for the 13th of Zul-Hajjah, then you stay the night and you stay another day of pelting of the stones as well. Of course, this is the 6th day of Hajj. If you say, which is known as Ayyamut Tashriq, you may stay there, and of course you can pelt the stones until the sunset itself. Now when you leave Mina, one can leave on before the sunset of the 12th, and of course after the 13th, perform salah in their respective manners wherever you are at that moment. You leave Mina and you come back towards Makkah. And you come to Makkah and you perform Tawaf al-Wida. Tawaf al-Wida is wajib. It can be performed any time after Tawaf al-Ziyarah. If a woman is in her menses and impurity and cannot perform Tawaf, she's excused. She's not excused from Tawaf al-Ziyarah. She's excused from Tawaf al-Wida if she's in impurities. In addition, there's no penalties for her missing it. Even after Tawaf al-Wida, a person can enter the masjid. Once you do Tawaf al-Wida, you can enter the masjid, you can make salah, and you can do all the good stuff that you have to. Tawaf al-Wida doesn't have sa'i to it. Tawaf al-Ziyarah has a sa'i attached to it. Tawaf al-Wida does not have any particular sa'i attached with it. So once you are done with your Tawaf al-Wida, which is the 7 rounds around the Kaaba, and the 2 rakats after this, your Hajj itself is complete. Now there are jinayats and penalties, which I'm just going to go through this quickly. Can't do this. And Hajj now, inshallah, is complete. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us Hajj al-Mabrur. I know the last moments were a little quicker. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I hope from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, before I leave for Hajj, we can do one more session maybe in the morning or something like that, where we could have 2 hours rather than an hour and a half, so we can cover this. Inshallah, I'm hoping to do this program again in Islamic Center of Long Island, ICLI, second or third Sunday of the month, still not confirmed, for 2 hours, 11 to 1. So if you guys miss out, then you can definitely attend that as well. Brother, you have a question there. So because Hajj Tamattu has two parts, it has Umrah and Hajj, so that Umrah will be a part of the person that you're doing Hajj for. But because you will be there, if Allah gives you tawfiq, you can perform another Umrah some other day. But that one Umrah that you are making, that has to be a part of Hajj Tamattu's Hajj itself. Yes, brother, the question.
The CD that you have, that you showed us review, can we get that as an email?
Sure, most definitely. You can, if you can, inshallah, you can definitely do that. If you can go online, there's a website called Darul Fiqh, run by a good friend of mine, Mufti Farhan from UK. That's his presentation. You can download it online anywhere. You have access to this, and inshallah, you can easily download that. I will go to their main first page, and then hopefully you can. Darul Fiqh. So right here, darulfiqh.com. So you can go to the website, Mufti Farhan Adam al-Mahmoudi from UK. He has done a beautiful job. Anyone can go and download this, keep this with you. You can read this. There's a very beautiful portion of it at the end, which I was not able to cover. And that is, inshallah, when I'm in Medina, I'm going to cover that, inshallah. It's the adab and etiquettes of the ziyarah of the Masjid of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how to visit Medina and how to visit that city. So if you actually can download this and have it on your own, inshallah.
Does it come in other languages?
Huh?
Does it come in Urdu or?
Not at the moment. You might have, you can find it from other places. This is the ziyarah of the Prophet. It's a very beautiful presentation for other. I'm not really sure about Urdu. You might find booklets and stuff, but I'm not sure if they have presentations like this. You may find it. I'm not sure about it. Any other questions, brothers? Inshallah, if you do have any questions, we have 5 minutes till Salah. Hopefully, inshallah, we can cover these later, inshallah. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi. Subhanakallah wa bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wa salamun ala mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Just a reminder, we also have food for brothers as well, inshallah. So if you haven't eaten, inshallah, make sure you take the food after the Salah itself, inshallah.